Hey everybody, this is Talking of Carl back again for another Father's Day month movie spoiler review. And this one I've been wanting to do for at least several months to a year. And I was trying to figure out what's like the best time to uh uh put this out, and I figured why not Father's Day? This is like a good, or at least a month of Father's Day of June. And I figure, hey, this this might be appropriate time. Better no time like now. Uh, Michael Keaton movie, the '90s film Multiplicity. Uh, and it's like, yeah, man. I remember watching this as a little kid, and like, of course, I was a huge, I'm a huge Michael Keaton fan, mostly because, yeah, it's kind of like ran together, but I like to say Batman '89 was the first time I was introduced to Michael Keaton on film when I was a little kid, because I didn't see it in the theaters. I was a baby at the time when Batman '89 came out in the theaters. Uh, but uh, uh, but when I was like a few years older, when I was able to watch films, it's like I watch Batman Returns, the sequel, on TV, and then you know and I watched Multiplicity. It's like, oh, Batman, like, yeah, I know him. Like, I want to watch this film. So it was like I dug this. Maybe it's like I wouldn't even call it like a guilty pleasure, even though this movie didn't do well at the box office, mostly because despite it being directed by Harold Ramis, the late Harold Ramis, uh, this was going up against Independence Day and the Nutty Professor movie. So, of course, that was stiff competition. So, even though it had like a budget for some reason of, well, I can guess the reason, of 45 million, but only raked in a little over 21 million at the box office. So it's like, man, if it avoided the same release time frame as those two other movies, then it would have had like a shot at probably at least breaking even. Because I think this is actually a well done movie, and Michael Keaton is such a superb actor that I think most people are appreciative of him now, but I think you know they relegated him to like, oh, that's Batman, but he done more stuff beyond Batman. Of course, from the stories that I've heard, that when he was cast to be Batman, he was Mr. Mom. And people was like, because even though we didn't have social media back then, people like was writing letters and, doing like interviews and or at least like whatever, and offering their complaints, like how like they're gonna cast Mr. Mom as Batman. He's not gonna be my Batman. He's gonna be all jokey. And of course, typical fashion, more often than not, people are wrong, because I think people have been doing this since the dawn of freaking time. And I might be guilty of that myself every once in a while. Because I think I wasn't as harsh as most other people were, but I was concerned with Heath Ledger when he was cast to be the Joker. And I'm like, I don't know, Jack Nicholson's pretty damn good. It's like, and then you got Mark Hamill, and I was like, I don't know how you on top of that. Then he blew everybody's freaking mind. And it's like, it's always that. And it's like, of course you gotta give certain people a chance. Now, Jared Leto Joker, it's hard, to say like, not to give him a chance. So we see it, and then yeah, sometimes they confirm people's worries, like, yeah, it's not gonna be good. But we don't know or completely understand until we actually see the final product. But Michael Keaton is such a superb actor, and I was debating whether or not to include Mr. Mom on this list. But maybe, if not some other random day, maybe next year for the month of June for Father's Day month, I'll put Mr. Mom on the list. But, 'cause that is a pretty damn good movie as well. Uh, but uh, Michael Keaton has such a good range, and this clearly shows here, because kind of like Eddie Murphy, or even like James McAvoy, or even Oscar Isaac. The only difference is they're playing like alternate personalities, while he's playing different people who happen to be clones. Because that's what pretty much this movie is about. Like, it has like, well, the two primary casts. Let's be honest. Michael Keaton plays Doug Kenny, as well as his three other clones. You got Andie MacDowell, impressive actress. Love Andie MacDowell, such a sweet woman. Plays Laura Kenny, and of course you got like Eugene Levy as like a supporting role here. You got like other actors involved, but it's like you got Ann Cusack, who's pretty sure he might be related to John Cusack, maybe. And of course you got Brian Doyle Murray, who's like kind of like a bit role here, or at least not a bit, but it's like a small character role here. But those are the primary ones that like I can like see and remember. But anyway, Michael Keaton plays this distinct personalities in these different individuals, and he's doing such a great job, in my opinion. But Doug is a LA contractor, and a construction worker, I should say, and he's being like pulled in all different directions. He's working at this construction job, and Eugene Levy is playing this kind of like inept kind of person working under him, who's tasked to fix a driveway, but this fool is on the opposite street, tearing up somebody else's driveway. And it's like, how do you even let that happen? I mean, yeah, like, because he missed a digit on a particular street, at least like the address. He misconstrued one digit that happened to be across the street. And it's like, I don't know how he even let that happen. I'm like, what kind of, and then this dude got the gall to say like, like, hey, this might, cost a little bit extra. It's like, cost, and it's like, without missing a beat, Michael Keaton, like, Doug is like, cost who? Because this is your fucking incompetence. It's like, and it's like, because clearly, like, this dude need to be fired, because this is like, and then the fact that, not only made the mistake, but he's acting like a shiesty little dude. It's like he's trying to, like, always trying to get up on everybody. It's like a sleazy used car salesman kind of attitude, Eugene Levy's character. And so Doug has to spend more time fixing this guy's mistake on top of doing the correct job. And, no matter how late it got, you're going to make sure everything's, fixed. But then as soon as he gets back to work, his boss is laying into him because the person they mistakenly, tore up their driveway called in the complaint. And it's like, and it's a weird kind of, we all have that kind of boss sometimes. It's like, do you hate me, Doug? No, I don't hate you. Then why I'm getting the complaints about you tearing up somebody's driveway? No, it wasn't me. It was, that's what, like, I kind of wish, like, Doug would have put out, like, no, I got like an inept dude who missed a digit and went across the street and messed with somebody else's driveway. But then again, the buck stopped with him, so you know, whatever. But then you got some other corny dude working there trying to be he's kind of like a rival contractor. Is kind of like want to show up Doug every which way possible. The kind of guy you want to punch in the freaking face on principle. Uh, so now Doug's coming home, late. He's missing his daughter's what's like Girl Scout initiation graduation thingy, and so they had to tape it. And he's watching it later, and he's super disappointed because he needed to be there. It's like he should be missing out on like a like a milestone of his own daughter, and it's like I want to say he's getting grief from his wife, but she's laying it out and she's right. It's like you need to be there, and she it's an important thing that you cannot you only get one of these half the time. So it's like, and then like she expected him to fix like the water here when he gets home, and it's like I just got home. It's like fine. Then like the son just not gonna have like a bath, and it's like, and it's like you feel for Doug. It's like he's trying to do everything, but he's getting nothing done. Then later on, she brings up to Doug that her friend who got into the real estate business around the same time as she did, but Laura had to step away because, which is kind of, now I'm thinking about, it's like maybe it's different back then during the like 90s or probably in like the 80s when she put in story got pregnant by the son. But it's like she had to step away because she got pregnant, but it's like you couldn't come back. They wouldn't allow you to come back. Like that didn't make any sense to me because obviously that wouldn't play today. But this is like 90s, and travel back further is like in the 80s it's probably had a different set of rules. But even still, it's kind of crummy. But in the meantime, like she just, because I guess she had to, stay to look after the son while the father took up bulk of the work, and things were moving smoothly. Then she eventually, a couple of years later, had like a little girl. So she just never got back home. She became like a stay-at-home mom for that, for like a significant period. Now that the kids are a little older, not teenagers obviously, but it's like they're old enough to like walk and talk, and handle a certain amount of things. But it's like, she wants to get back to work, and her friend who's moving up, offered her previous position. So now it's like, Laura wants to get back in the workforce, and this kind of like, Doug reacted poorly at first, but I'm glad he quickly corrected himself. But it's like, because she brings it up like, we'll need you, because as he puts it, as you're starting out, you probably be making next to nothing at first. So that's going to take some time. But then she brings up, like, oh, maybe this, help out a little bit, around the house, for me to like pick up some slack. And of course, he kind of like had like a mini outburst. It's like, how, I'm already doing this and that and the other. How am I supposed to do this too? And of course, this upsets her, and he quickly corrected himself, like, I'm sorry, we'll figure this out. But clearly, that's still not sitting too well with him. He just had to like correct himself as far as his reaction to his own wife, because it's pretty much like, with everything that's going on, at his day job, then like at home, it's like, he's coming unglued. So he goes to his next job at this scientific, I guess like I don't know if it's genetic, but just this scientific facility called Gemini. And as he's working on construction at this facility, I think like fixing up like certain wing of the building, and like some of the guys are trying to like fix this pipe that's like leaking water, and then Doug's trying to step in, then like the water's going everywhere, and he's just like losing it and start like smashing things with a monkey wrench. And then the head scientist there, is on looking. So later, a few minutes later, he walks up to Doug, saying like, you like to have a talk, see, like, what's up? And then Doug, is on his couch and telling, and it's like he's not, a psychiatrist as he put it, but it's like nice little moment where he's get to like unload, and you get inside his head here. It's like how like, for the longest time, like work always came first, and like my family, it's like it's like a close second, and like and when it comes to things that I want to do, I'm like at a distant third, at the tail end. And it's like, he doesn't make time for himself. He can't even make time for his own family, and he's feeling like he's failing, as a father, because he can't do everything. And you hear him bring up later in the film that, it's like, I've been working since I was 12. And it's like, I don't know what he was doing since he was like in the preteens. But, if he's constantly like, working, and he hasn't, like, for some reason haven't had some kind of vacation time, which is also strange how you never, but maybe it's like exaggeration, but it's just like kind of like bring up the fact that he constantly has to be working to provide, but that ends up sacrificing his time for family time. And there's definitely any family time he manages to squeeze in that sacrifices any personal time for himself. So, that's become like a detriment. And I think that's true for a lot of people. And it's probably especially parents. It's like, you're getting pulled in all different directions. And it's like, your family is your priority, first and foremost. You can make it above your family. It's kind of standard. So this doctor named, Dr. Leeds, he brings up a suggestion that, my facility, we, create clones. We, first cloned a virus, then we cloned an earthworm, then we cloned a chimp. Then a year ago, well, we started human trials, and then Doug meets Leeds' clone, who steps in, who informs him that, he, unbeknownst to Doug, he spoke with a clone on a different topic about like the construction job, like at a different time. So he wasn't even speaking with like the real Leeds, proving that like this, works. So that way, because Dr. Leeds mentions like, what I offer is time. Time for yourself, time for your family. So Doug decides to clone himself. So that way, he figures he can get a lot done where it's two of him rather than just one. So he clones himself, and the clone initially is named Two, but later on to be known as Lance. As Leeds puts it, it's like, the clones have all your memories, your quirks, your memories, your quirks, your knowledge. Well, like knowledge is like subjective, but it's like just your memories, your quirks, habits. It's like up to the moment of cloning. At that point, the clones will have like their own experiences moving forward, and feelings and whatever. So, Two acquired for. It never explained why it led into this, but the clones will have their own different kind of like exaggeration of part of Doug's personality. Two will have his an exaggeration of Doug's masculine side. So two is meant to take care of the workload at the job. So there's a guest house, so that's where he hides two and the other two preceding clones there, which doesn't explain why at no point Laura or none of the kids ever have to go up to like that guest house for anything, but it's whatever. So next morning, Doug didn't find two, in the guest house, and he goes off to work. Didn't think ahead that he might be at work, considering that whatever, but he should have like hashed out like a game plan like the day before, so that way, there'll be a little bit more understanding about the comings and goings of each other, so nobody will be any of the wiser. But Doug's secretary brings like, I thought she was already in a meeting. How I'll be in a minute? Oh, like I got away. I spilled coffee on my shirt, and I need to get my shirt again because I kind of like that shirt personally. So like, just forget you ever saw me come in, because in a few minutes you might see me coming out there because I went the other direction. So don't worry about it. So he leaves out and drives a few blocks away from the job, and then calls on the bigger cellular phones. Is before, like, because these were cell phones, but like bigger ones at the time, but it's like the early version of the cell phone in the 90s. So he calls into his job, and under like an assumed name, like, I like to speak to Doug Kenny. So, and it's like in certain vocal tones, you hear a bit of Beetlejuice in his voice, which is hilarious to me. But he that's what I'm saying, like Beetlejuice and like Batman kind of ran together when I was a little kid. So it's hard to remember which one came first. So I like to think Batman came first. I'm pretty sure that's correct. Because I watched a lot of movies as a little kid. So my earliest memories are like, certain movies that I recall retaining in my memory. The first Predator movie, Batman '89, The Returns, and the first two Christopher Reeve Superman. Those are like in the top in my memory of my earliest movies that I recall as a kid. So, well, then again, it's probably like a tie between like Batman '89, Batman Returns, and the first Superman movie. I think those three are like tied between, like, I cannot recall which one was which as far as like the first one I personally remember seeing at my earliest phase in life. But anyway, Two answers the phone, and he brings up like, oh yeah, it's like, I'm doing what you wanted for me to do. I'm at work taking care of business. And then Doug's like, okay, then I guess I'll head down to the store and pick up some stuff for the other job. I'm like, already did it. I was like, okay, then I'll take care of this. Like, already done. I was like, what about this? Like, don't worry, I'm gonna be taking care of that on my way up to do this other job. And it's like, wow, okay, then what should I do? I don't know, live it up, dude. I gotta go. So it's like, Doug's figured like, this is the first time I actually have some spare time to myself. So he decides like, okay, like, I can go golfing. It's like something I've wanted to do. It's like, something he does to relax personally. So like while uh Doug is getting ready to like, oh, he's going to go to the links. So two is at work, dealing with like a different job. Then here comes Eugene Levy's character, Vic, coming in, and he's like over an hour late, and this is not the first time apparently, and like uh two brings up like what time did I tell you you have to be here? And it's like it's like you can tell kind of like a asshole this kind of, or at least a douchebag this kind of guy is, where it's like well, we never agreed to like I don't recall us agreeing to like a specific time, and two was like, no, we did twice. Matter of fact, and it's like because this dude got like a watch on, but it's on New York time for some effing reason. Because he always trying to pull a fast one, trying to one up somebody, not one up, but it's like just trying to get one over on everybody, and it's like and two just fires him on the spot because it's like and pretty much dragged him into his own car and tell him to get the hell out. And like one of the other construction guys, like the guy's got like at least 13 kids. It's like, well, I doubt it was that many kids. Even if he has like a few, it's like he should have been a lot more responsible than just like trying to pull a fast one. So two isn't just not having it. So then like Laura calls while she's like at her first real estate job, and for some reason they forget about like this picture day thing, and so she calls, thinking it's Doug. She calls two, mentioning like you gotta pick up the kids, you gotta mousse her hair again, make sure they take a bath and all this other stuff, so we gotta take pictures and whatnot. And like two's like it's like it's not clearly listening, so he calls Doug right as he was teeing off. It's like, yeah, Laura said you gotta give him baths and mousse hair and picture day thing. Clearly just abbreviating what was told to him, just like the bullet points. And Doug is like kind of like flabbergasted, like, oh my god, like what is like. And so he has to leave the golf course when he's already like got everything set up, so he's heading out, going back home. And while you got these kids, like the little girl is screaming like, I don't want to take a bath, I like showers. No, it was like like I want a bath, I don't want to take showers, we don't have time for a bath. And then like he's Doug's getting like his son to like help him corral the daughter. And then he's in the boy later on, as Doug's trying to put on this girl's tutu and like all this other stuff for this like picture day at the, I guess like the because I guess he does ballet or whatever like that, which is ironic. I just did like a movie, a Father's Day review movie, The Game Plan, with The Rock, and he has like a daughter who's also in ballet and stuff like that, which is funny. But she is like not well, he's not like like, I'm not going. It's like you're going. You're like, what was the boy's name? Zach or Max? Yeah, Zach. It's like you're going, Zach. It's like because he gives him attitude while he's trying to squeeze in this girl into her tutu, and like, and I love this part because it's so doggone funny from this little girl, where the ballerina tutu is like up to her belly and not on her waist, and he's just doing whatever he can with the hair and with a little bonnet thing on her top of her head, and she turned around like, Hey, that looks good. I was like, that's something I probably would have done. If I had a kid, that's probably something I would have done. Just like, that's good. just, or just going to take them to picture day. And it's like, and then lo and behold, would you believe, as soon as he gets there, while, dragging these kids, dragging one kid by the arm while holding the other kid underneath the other arm. And it's like, well, we're here for picture day. I'm like, oh, nobody tell you? Picture day's been moved to, tomorrow. And like Doug is just, you can see from like Michael Keaton's face, is like he's just fuming, like, no, seriously. Like, no, seriously, where's the cameraman? And he's like, get the cameraman out here right now. Because clearly he was like, I know, it's like, cause I know I'm not sitting there like, all just running around. Because I would be mad too. Any parent probably would be mad. Because it's sound like, oh, then like, who you called? Like, who exactly did you call saying like, that was canceled? Because you didn't call the mom, because she would have called like either Doug's car phone or like 2 at the very least. So someone relayed the message to Doug, so that way he can just quickly turn around. But it's like, clearly nobody can call nobody. Then, later on, Doug's at home trying to, like, these screaming kids, messing with each other while he's on the phone handling business. I was trying to, clean up, and put away the food and stuff like that. Then it's like, Doug is like, okay, clearly this is not working. So he goes out to like dinner with his wife, trying to like, lay it out to her. It's like, this arrangement, it's not working. I think, mind you, this is like 90s. This is kind of like the kind of thing that was like, it still wasn't okay even back then, but it's like, more or less still culturally sensitive, but it's like, you don't get like dragged through the coals for saying it, per se. But, he messes, to her, as like, you have to, do the work at home thing. You got to do the stay at home mom kind of thing. Cause like, I can't do it. You're much better at it. It's like you have the Y chromosomes, and, I just, I don't know what kind of chromosomes I have, but it's just like, you're just more natural at it. And it's because pretty much pointing out like, oh, you're a woman because you're more natural at like nurturing, stuff like that. Clearly that's like insulting, but it's just like I said, some people talk like that, even though is a crummy thing to say. It's like, wasn't okay even back then, but it's like, you know what I mean? It doesn't raise to the kind of height that it would be today if you would have said something like that today. But she, kudos to Annie McDowell, because like, she's an impressive actress. So you forget how good of an actress she is. But she points out to him, and she lays it out, because you think like Annie McDowell's kind of character she plays is more like, timid kind of like, meek woman. But it's like, she talks softly, but it's kind of like Theodore Roosevelt's sayings, like, speak softly but carry a big stick kind of thing. Where she's speaking softly, and she tells him like, well, I'm sorry, it was so hard for you. I completely understand if, it was rough on the first day, but like, I'm good at what I'm doing. I love what I'm doing. And, and we'll just have to figure something out, because I'm not giving up this job. And like, kudos to Amy Doug, because she's like a working woman, and like, she's not going to cater to the whole, the matriarch kind of situation where she has to be the stay-at-home mom. That's not going to fly with her no more. And she's laying it out, she's laying it all out right then and there on the spot. And of course, like, Doug's like, no, that's not it. What I said, that was it. And of course, you can see like these two like starting an argument, but then like you see across the way, because this is Doug's favorite restaurant, and of course like he looks across the way and he sees two with one of the other people that he worked with, this other woman, this redhead, and like he's having dinner with her, pretty much like saying like, uh, me and her is not working out. She's actually sleeping with another man, and because like apparently this woman was flirting with Doug at work, here and there, but it's not nothing that escalates to anything. But clearly, like too is like need like some kind of like release, kind of like he looking for some kind of like connection, because like go all that he have known, at least memory wise, has been completely stripped from him because he's not the original Doug. The original Doug has all this stuff, and this is like I'm pretty sure this is like a little bit before Spider-Man Clone Saga, because like I think this is the OG Clone Saga before Spider-Man made it like a thing. But these two see each other across the way, and so they sneak off into the man's bathroom, and like they and two lays it out like like I said, like everything he knew has been stripped away from him, and he's alone, and he's like it's like because I'm not a genie, I don't come out or leave whenever you say I need to. It's like, so like get off my back. So it's like and he raises valid points. It's like he might be a clone, but he has agency now, and he's still a person. And so it's like he's doing, by extension, he's doing you a favor, even though he is you. And so Doug then comes up with a solution by cloning himself again, making 3, who's the more feminine side of Doug, which, once again, I don't know how that kind of feelings, heighten like that per clone. It doesn't make any, that didn't make any sense to me, because I never saw that with Lee's clone. Even though the little time we had with them, he seems like, maybe slightly more chipper by comparison to the original leads, but I don't know. It's like it's never explained why per clone a particular emotion or side of you gets more heightened than the others. I just wish that was a little bit more explained to me. But Doug makes 3, so that way, not only 2 has some company, so that way he doesn't feel alone, but also he can take care of like the homestead, since Laura doesn't want to leave her job at this point, and 2 is too busy with the actual work portion, and Doug wants some time to himself, some break time to himself, as he mentions. So 3 handles like the daily affairs with like making sure the kids get to school, and which I don't know how that even happens with like only 2 cars. How do either one of the clones get anywhere? Well, at least if 2 is using the car for work purposes, unless he's borrowing a work vehicle maybe. But it's like, okay, and Doug might have his own car. How does 3 get the kids to school? Well, I guess they got school buses maybe, but it's just like 3's like make sure to handle the cooking, the cleaning, and make sure the kids like get everything they need to get in school, and if they need to got school functions or whatever, he's there dealing with it. So that way everybody's happy. But nobody's happy, obviously. Then Doug decides to like because he had like a need to go to a Lakers game. So I mean, like we all been there. It's like we all had like some kind of need to just do something, just not completely planned, just like It's like if you live in LA and you had this need to like head to Vegas, and you can just decide to drive to Vegas. It's only like what, a 6 to 8 hour drive or something like that. Uh, and just do it up. Just that kind of feeling. But so he calls in home to 3 and saying like, you know, like I'll be at this liquor game for a while. I just want to let you guys know. And, and so Doug trying to sneaks in back in the house, and then and like it was like a funny moment when he's trying to lay down in bed, but then like 3 is there with Laura, and like these two shocking each other, and Laura is is slowly waking up, and Doug just had to dip over into the floor, and it's like try to pretend like just like trying to make sure like Laura doesn't find out, and 3 had to like pretend like, oh no, I just had a nightmare, just go back to sleep. I just gonna have to go down in the kitchen and give me some drink of water. And so they head back into like the guest house, and it's like did you sleep with my wife? It's like, no. And I was like, we were just looking out and was like laying in bed and like and watched TV, and then we just fell asleep. Nothing happened. And so Doug decided to like, okay, we'll make it a rule here. Nobody touches my wife. It belongs to the original. It's the original clone's wife. I mean, original Doug's wife. No clone nookie, as he puts it. And so this leads to like just like everything seems to go smoothly so far until Doug's trying to like plan out this stuff for him and his wife to do, and this and that and the other. But then these clones is like I won't say they throwing things out of whack, but it can kind of make things a little bit more complicated than it had to be for Doug. Where Doug is like waking up in a late at night hearing like what's the song like, or at least the artist, because like this hearing the song like "This Is How We Do It." Who's that song? I know it's on the tip of my tongue. This. Montel Jordan. And it's like, you can tell it's the 90s because it's like they playing this song on like a boombox, and Doug is like sneaking into the guest house, and he sees like these guys got these 2 girls over, and of course for all they know these are like brothers. And so 2 names Lance, and 3 call himself Rico, just to give him some actual names, because you don't want these guys relegated to just numbers, because it takes away any kind of like humanity from them. So this kind of bothers Doug, and it's like you can't just bring people in in here, and like and 2 points out, it's like, look, we're not monks. It's like we have needs. It's like we're more than like just taking care of your work and taking care of your kids and the house. We want to do things for ourselves too, and they're right. And this kind of like shuts Doug up a bit, because it's like they do have a point. It's like they're not things, they're people. And then Doug bumps into 4, who they later called Lenny, and it's like Doug has now had to make a second rule that no more clones. And after this point, we haven't seen Leeds after the first cloning situation. Like we never seen him anymore in this film for some reason beyond this point. Maybe in some kind of DVD deleted scene or something like that. That's something maybe we'll see that involves him. But by and large, we haven't seen Lee's after the first cloning process. But uh, uh, they decided to make four. Make him because he's a clone of two, and of course, as they put it, if you make a copy of a copy, is not as sharp as the original. So Lenny, because they kind of named him after the character from Mice and Men who was slow. And I know that's not too PC to say, but um, he's a little like a bit mentally disabled a bit. And like I said, like Michael Keaton does an impressive job with playing each of these roles in a distinct way and doing such a great job. And it's like Lenny keeps calling Doug Steve, and it's, so three puts it like Lenny's gonna be taking care of taking out the trash and mowing the lawns, things like the rest of us ain't got time to do. And I'm thinking to myself, isn't that the job of three? Take care of the household. That's like you can't take out the trash and mow the lawn. Because I don't know. He's like, yeah, sure. You're cleaning up the house. You might as well take out the trash at the same time and mow the lawn. Why you need Lenny to take care of that stuff? Make no sense to me. But Doug later comes home on another day. He comes home and suggests to Laura that or at least Laura brings up to him about what you think about what we talked about the other day. Because that's another problem. It's like Doug, for some reason, even when I was a kid, and I brought it up because I remember watching this movie with my brother and my cousin, and I remember bringing it up. I was like, because we all had that same kind of thought process. Like, why does this dude never at the end of the day run play-by-plays with his other clones and say okay, who did you have discussion with today? So at least have a powwow. I was like, okay, two, what did my boss and the other coworkers had to say to you? So that way, if I'm questioned or any of us is questioned, we can have a feedback. And in three, what did you speak with Laura and the kids about? So that way, if anyone is asked, we can have a discussion while looking confused. Because I don't understand why that is never I know it's it offers some kind of to move the story along, or at least offer some kind of what's the word conflict or something like that. But it's you gotta run some play-by-play so that way nobody's looking dumb when somebody else is asked a certain question that you weren't privy to. So Laura's bringing up about some conversation that she had with probably three that he doesn't understand what she's talking about. And he's saying oh, well, well, whatever you decide, honey, it's good. And it's you're smart. And it's don't put this all on me. And it's don't want to be fair to the kids. And Doug's had to remind me what was the discussion? Cause she brings up I bought non-refundable tickets to Disneyland, and it's and Doug's freaking out you bought non-refundable tickets to Disneyland? What, are you nuts? And it's you said it was okay. And it's who? You? Not me. Not me. It's this. That always got me as a kid. It's not me. Not me. And of course, Laura is coming at wit's end because she's doesn't understand. She thinks Doug might have some kind of onset bipolar or multiple personality disorder, which later on is known to be DID. But because she points out sometimes you're sweet as can be, sometimes you're always seem like you're on edge, and it's and sometimes you're not even making any sense half the time. It's like, what's going on with you? And Doug can't explain, but it's like, he just tries to circumvent or at least change the subject. Like, hey, let's go out, let's do something together. And it's like, we always saying like we should go out, like, go to Aruba and like swim in dolphins, blah blah blah. And she's like, that was just all talk. And like, we got, and Doug's like, why can't we just do it? Because, and that's the thing, like, couples need time with each other, and more often than not, like outside of the kids, and it shouldn't be just talk. Sometimes when you're young and you're still active, you want to do all this stuff rather than wait till later. Do the stuff now and like enjoy each other's company and stuff like that. And of course, she doesn't seem like. She says, like, that's just talk, but it shouldn't be just talk. Do these kind of things. It's fun. But then Doug decides, like, okay, I'm going to go sailing. I want to do it without her, because, and that was like a mistake on his part. He went from wanting to spend more time with his family to just wanting to spend more time with himself, and I think that's my. Not overall takeaway, but part of the takeaway what I got from this movie, and at least the character of Doug and his arc, where it's like he just like, everything's gone so chaotic. He just resigned himself. Okay, hey, I'm just gonna, since he doesn't want to come with me, I don't want to lose this opportunity. He's so craving the free time that he's getting drunk off the free time, pretty much, just like doing the stuff without the wife and kids, and now he's not like. He doesn't know what's going on with them, period, now at this point, because he's not there. And that was the whole point of all this, so he can be there with them. Now he's just being there for himself. So he's telling the clones, like, I'm going out sailing, 3, you're going to take care of, like, most of the at-home stuff on my behalf while I'm gone. And in case, she's feeling frisky or anything like that, you pretend like you got like bronchitis or something like that, so you don't want to catch it, so that way you can avoid having to have sex with her. But when he's out there, he's not actually having like a great time. He's like, he's doing some kind of self-reflecting. He's getting sick, and it's like, it's not as fun because he's sitting there like, like you got the harbor guy who's like, some of these boats, because this is a guy played by Brian Murray, this Walt guy who's with his, I guess, young wife or something, or girlfriend, and like, they're sailing, and it's like they're supposed to bring Mrs. Kane along, but it's like, it's doing this without her. And it's like, he's not fully enjoying it. It's like, the whole, like doing things with his wife and by extension his kids as well. It just takes the joy out of it. It's like, you can't enjoy this entire scenery all that much when knowing full well that, your wife and kids are not there to make the enjoyment all the more sweeter. So, in the meantime, while back in the homestead, Laura ends up having sex with all 3 of the clones, not realizing that, none of these guys are the original Doug. Which is amazing how she never got pregnant by any one of these guys. But this also leads into like trouble with, because 2 gets sick, he can't go to work, and is doing this big inspection thingy with Otho from Beetlejuice, running the inspection. So 3 has to pick up the slack, and of course, since he's not there at work, he doesn't know what's going on to answer certain questions that the guy has. So he he sneaks away to call into two to get the answers to some of the questions. And this leads to Doug getting fired, and uh, two snapping at uh, uh, Laura, it causing this big fight. So she leaves with the kids. Of course, she had like a discussion with two. It's discussion with four, and of course, four doesn't understand, and four is in the garage and messing with stuff, and which is funny. It's like even with the four's mentality at like a decreased rate, he still retains that bit of construction worker knowledge a bit. And so he's fooling around with like all these like certain tools and stuff like that. And Laura's asking like what do you want? Like this, and then Ford just not completely understanding. So he just like, I want pizza. He loves pizza. And so she storms off thinking like he's completely ignoring her. And so Doug comes home and finds out that his wife and kids are gone. He lost his job. So he's just like completely undone. And he has a discussion with Ford because he confused him why like Laura will leave, and Ford blurts out because she don't fix stuff. She's mad because she don't fix stuff. And he along with the clones and with the assistance of Vic, who doesn't bother to ask questions, and just to get the extra helping hand to fix up the house, because like if you've seen like the scene, there's certain things that it doesn't seem like complete so far as like construction wise. So the house is completely remodeled. There's a little koi pond out in the backyard, and he goes to Laura, who's staying with her parents, and he begs her to come back to the house to check things out and talk. And she sees the house completely remodeled and everything looks so fantastic, and this blows her mind that he finally completed something he always promised. He completed one of his promises that he long since been promised. They never got around to do so because he apparently never had the time. But it's obviously more to it than just fixing the house. It's actually keeping his promises to his wife and knowing that she is not ignored and her feelings matter. And he looks at losing his job as a blessing in disguise, because now he can start his own contracting business, so he can set his own hours. So now he can be able to spend whatever amount of time he wants with his family without being so constricted. So then once his whole household is in order, literally and metaphorically, the clones figured like, he's no longer needing us. So they decided to head off to Miami, Florida to start like a new life. First, heading off to Vegas on the way there. Then in the end of the movie, 3 narrates about sending out a postcard mentioning that they started like a new pizzeria in Miami, Florida. So like 2 is the business guy, and he's managed to form friendships, connections like he always wants with all these customers. 3 is handling the food preparations and stuff like that, and 4 is handling like the he's a paper boy and a pizza delivery guy. But you see like how he kind of like delivering pizzas like a paper boy, so you kind of got them mixed up, but it's kind of funny. But this movie is like, it's a total nice movie, but it's like a good family movie, and it's just fun. It's overall fun, and you love to see Michael Keaton really strut his stuff as far as like his acting range. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. And like I said, it's too bad that it was released around the same time as Nutty Professor and Independence Day, because if it gotten like some room to breathe, then I think it would have done a little bit better. Or at least you give like a better judgment in the box office without these two other mega blockbusters kind of like blowing it out the water. Because it's kind of like, it's a little unfair to judge. And I think this is true for a lot of movies where in like recent years, aside from the whole pandemic situation, a lot of movies, decided to move the release date out the way so that way they don't have to compete with another thing that's more often not going to blow up. Like the Batman in like a few months ago, things had to move around to, like Morbius had to move at a later month because it didn't want to compete with the studios, didn't want to compete with the Batman, who they know is going to do exceptionally well because Batman movies usually, by and large, do extremely well. So they don't want to have to lose any kind of like box office revenue because everybody, by and large, wanted to choose the Batman movie over Morbius. Now, Morbius obviously didn't do great anyway, but it broke even at the very least. And thanks in large part of them deciding to move it to a different month, so that way you can get like a sense of how it does without any kind of interference, or at least not interference with something that's going to be like obvious mega blockbusters in the theaters. So that way we can get like a fair, like a fair, I want to say about the fair trial, but like give it like a fair handshake. But yeah, highly recommend checking out Multiplicity. It's not streaming anywhere, but like I bought it very cheap, like just $5 on Amazon Prime. You can check it out. You can judge it yourself as far as like its quality. Like I said, it's a total 90s movie, but it's like a fun family 90s movie, and you go get some laughs, and you can really see like Michael Keaton's like acting skills, like really like strut his stuff here. But yeah, look forward to next week for my next Father's Day movie review. We'll just leave these things kind of a surprise until like the day of. But I will see you guys possibly tomorrow for more Marvel Ultimate Alliance. I'm currently going through season 3 of Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. Then I'm going right into season 4 right afterwards, so I can do back-to-back Yu-Gi-Oh! GX season 3 and 4 movie TV show reviews. So that way I can like move on to 5Ds not right away, but make that the next Yu-Gi-Oh! Thing for me to cover. Because there's other stuff I want to cover after because I'm going right back into JoJo's Bizarre Adventure once I'm done with season 4 of GX. Then like I haven't decided what's next after JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, after the 4th season of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. I haven't decided which other thing I'm going to get into next. Maybe Iron Man Armored Avengers. I haven't decided yet. It might be some other thing. Maybe Mega Man and T Warrior. Because there's certain older shows that I want to just do at least one season on, and maybe have enough people requested to get into another season. But anywho, I will see you guys soon. But leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff to Talkative Carl on YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. I'd like to thank all the recent subscribers. Tone or Tune, Toa Neo 07, and Pedro Nira, recent subscribers on my YouTube channel. So yeah, be like these guys, subscribe, and let that algorithm do his thing. Leave a comments, like all that stuff, and yeah, I'll see you guys later. Peace.